I'm Arthur Moats, and I'm here to tell you about my new book, The Moats Theory of Life. If you haven't picked up a copy yet, I strongly encourage you to. This book not only is a fun read, but it's a guide to helping you become a person of impact and inspiration. If you are ready to take the next step to improving not only your life, but those around you as well, go get a copy of The Moats Theory of Life, and it's available at moatstheory.com. What's up? It's the Arthur Moats Experience with Deke. I'm Arthur Moats, and that's my main man, Deke.
What's up, bro?
Man, you already know, another day, another dollar, another day where we are in the land of the living, which is most important. So shout out to that, and shout out to your fire outfit. Man, I love new Deke. 2021 Deke is my favorite Deke right now, bro. I'm just throwing it out there, man.
Is the game over already?
Hey, bro, you're staying true to the button-up look, taco meat exposed, and because you're practicing your healthy living and healthy lifestyle, you just look good.
Thank
you. You look like money. I'm glad I know you. You know what I mean? You're the type of guy right now that I go down the street and I'm like, hey, I know that guy right there, and I get in free because I know you. That's what it looks like right now, man. So keep doing what you're doing. I'm just throwing it out there, man. Keep doing what you're doing, baby.
That's a big time compliment. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, man. But I'm excited because, man, we got something that is, we've been talking about it. Actually, you brought this up, man. Shout out to you for this.
Come on, bro.
But, man,
come on, bro. You don't need to give me that
Come on,
credit.
baby. Look.
It's a team. Come
on.
My
man, D hit me with the, hey, yo, we got to get these drafts. We got to get these mock drafts. If we are legit about what we are, if we are, for real in terms of being analysts, in terms of breaking down the stills and things like that, he said, yo, we got to have mock drafts. That's what everybody else has. And I said, Deke, you are absolutely right. That's that 2021 Deke. 2020 Deke, we ain't having that conversation. 2021 Deke, though, he's very aware of the situation. And that's why today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have our first mock draft. I am so excited for this, man. So the way we're going to do it, we're using the Pro Football Focus draft simulators. And basically what that does for us, it's going to basically pick everyone else's teams or everyone else's players throughout the draft as they typically would be picked in this upcoming draft. Now, granted, we know there's going to be some surprises, and that's just in life and in the simulator. But for the majority of the picks, they are very similar to what we are probably going to see come draft day. So with that being said, man, we're going to go through. I'll obviously pick first, and then you'll pick as well. And then from there, at the end of this thing, after 7 rounds, we'll look at both of our rosters and see how we did during the draft. And the cool thing about this simulator is it actually will give us a draft grade at the end. So I'm excited about it, man.
I was going to say, this is a really cool setup that they have going.
It is, man.
I mean, it's really detailed and everything. I guess another caveat is our draft boards are going to be different.
Yes.
So who may be available for you for round 1, round 2, round 3 will be different for me. But I'm assuming once we get to that pick, it's like, all right, who do you have available? These are some of the key names I have. These are some of the key names you have. Here's who I'm thinking. And then we'll kind of explain the pick.
Absolutely. And what we also did, because the simulators have various settings, right? You can turn up the randomness of it where you're going to get a Trevor Lawrence, for example, potentially going at 7 or 8 instead of at 1 or 2. We turned the randomness down. We didn't want a lot of craziness going on. We wanted to be as realistic as possible.
Has that happened for you?
Yes, actually it has. So I've done it because I wanted to see just with the settings, how, accurate or how wacky it could get. And when I left the randomness as an equal, component versus positional value versus best player available, when I had the randomness up there as well, literally I had one where Justin Fields went 1, Trevor Lawrence went, I think, 4.
Oh, wow.
So I was just like, whoa.
Justin Fields to 1. I guess you could stretch and make that call because of the Ohio State connection with Urban.
Absolutely. And because of how hot he got in the playoffs as well. So a lot of it does make sense. But at the same time, I think if we're, talking about Trevor Lawrence, if he doesn't go at 1, you don't expect him to go past 3 or 2. I mean, the Jets, they need a quarterback. We all agree upon that. The Dolphins, they clearly want 100% sold on Tua. So clearly, they wouldn't pass up on it. Now, the Falcons, sure, they got Matt Ryan.
But even drafts are having Falcons take a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So that's the thing that's going to be interesting. I mean, I've even seen it where The Eagles have drafted a quarterback multiple times on this list. San Francisco has drafted a quarterback. The Broncos have drafted a quarterback. So we can see how it's still realistic because these teams could be in the market for it. But we also know certain players aren't lasting that long. I mean, it's one of those things. I don't care how good you are at the quarterback position. If you don't have, one of these younger top tier guys and Trevor Lawrence is available to you, yes, you're going to take this guy. I mean, that's kind of how I looked at it. So that's how we turned the randomness down. But if you're ready, I'm ready. We can get this thing rolling, man.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to click on Start Draft. All right. And I'll tell you my pick first, but just a quick update, right? As the draft is going on right now. These were the first couple of picks. Trevor Lawrence went in the first, was number 1 overall. Obviously, he went to Jacksonville. At number 2 overall, they went Zach Wilson, quarterback out of BYU.
Yeah.
Third overall pick went Jamar Chase. Totally could see that, him going down to Miami. Then Jalen Waddle out of Alabama went to the Falcons in the 4th overall pick. At number 5 for the Bengals, and I like this a lot. They went with Penny Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon. Top-notch, high pedigree guy. At 6, Justin Fields to Philly. Mm-hmm. We talked about how, man, we could see them potentially taking a quarterback because of when you make mass changes, right? You change your head coach. You obviously got rid of Carson Wentz. New coach comes in there. Who knows if he is a firm believer in Jalen Hurts or not? So that's why that makes sense. Some more notable names. Devontae Smith going at 8 overall to the Panthers. Then at number 9, Trey Lance, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. It has him going at number 9 to the Broncos. Let's see who else. Some notable names up here. Got the tackle out of Northwestern, Rashawn Slater, going to the Chargers at 13. Rashad Bateman, the receiver out of Minnesota, going to Arizona at 16. See some more. Kyle Trask, quarterback out of Florida. He went at 23 on mine, right? He went at 23.
He was not picked on mine.
Okay, so Kyle Trask went at 23 on mine. He was a part of a trade. The Seahawks were picking at 23, and they traded with the Jets on mine, and then the Jets went and took him. So right now on my board, I have,
Jets did the same exact thing on mine. They took the edge rusher from Miami, Gregory Rousseau.
Okay. So yeah, Gregory Rousseau went to the Colts on mine at 21. So he went a couple picks earlier. So you can see right there, just it's similar, but yet different between both of ours right now. So on mine,
this is who you have available.
Yeah, so it says for me. So for me, the needs that I have, it says quarterback, guard, and safety as my needs. Have a couple of trade offers as well as what it looks like, but I'm rejecting those because I want to keep our picks as is. So now as I'm looking at it, I have Jashawn Owe, the edge rusher out of Penn State. J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. Let's see who else is up here. Tevin Jenkins, swing tackle. So he's played at right tackle, he's played at center, and he's played at guard. He's available for me, but and Asante Samuel Jr., cornerback out of Florida State, but the guy that I'm more than likely looking to take, because honestly, it's a ton of names right here. So I'm leaning towards Aleha Vera Tucker. He's the left tackle out of USC. Now, I like him a little bit better than Tevin Jenkins because Tevin has bounced around a little bit. He's played right tackle, he's played left tackle, he's played center and guard as well. So granted, really good athlete, but for me, I'm looking more so solely at that left tackle spot. So that's why I'm leaning towards Aleha Vera Tucker. But now also on the board right now, I have Zaven Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa. We got Kadarius Toney. Absolutely. Kadarius Toney is on the board, wide receiver out of Florida. Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama, is still available as well. And then we still got the running backs, your Travis Etienne's, your Najee Harrison. So we got a lot of flexibility right here. But for me, knowing that Ben more than likely will be back, I'm going left tackle. I'm going to go with Aleha, make sure I'm saying it right, Aleha Vera Tucker. That's who I'm picking at pick 24 right now.
I'm hurting.
So now you should be picking what's your situation looking like, man?
Very similar players on the board, except I have one guy who I've been messing around with these mock drafts last night, and this is the one player I would probably take outside of offensive tackle or any of the offensive linemen that are on the board right now. Do you know who I'm talking about? Linebacker, Notre Dame, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You talk about Zaven Collins. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. This dude might be a step up from even Zaven Collins.
I mean, he's like that.
Dude,
He's
he
definitely
looks
like
like the
that, man.
truth. I'm just imagining pairing him with Devin Bush on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Well, and for me, I also like this about him. Him playing at Notre Dame, better competition. He's played in a lot more bigger games. You think about that Clemson game. Even though I feel like Zaven is a really good linebacker, he's playing at Tulsa. Tulsa, you're not facing Clemson. You're not, going up against some of these powerhouse, Power 5 programs traditionally. So I could definitely see why you would lean one way, in terms of his direction versus others. So yeah, I could definitely understand that, man.
it's tough because when we've talked about the draft, the past however many podcasts, I've been pretty certain running back, offensive line, first 3 or 4
Yeah.
rounds. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But with this guy on the board, dude, I don't know if I
changes,
could.
right?
I don't know if I could pass up the possibility of pairing him with Devin Bush. Like the
Right.
defense at middle linebacker could be set for the next 10 years. And I think this guy's the truth. I honestly think he might be the best potential inside linebacker in this draft, even above Michael Parsons.
He's nice, man. He is nice.
So, dude, I'm gonna risk it. I'm definitely gonna risk it. I'm picking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah with my first pick.
I like it. And the beauty of this situation, right? This is very similar to what Kevin Colbert is going to have to deal with on draft night. Positional need versus best player available.
Yep.
Right there, technically inside linebacker, off-ball linebacker isn't the most pressing need right now, but he was clearly, the best player available. And you could already see how he could make this defense that much better. So that's the fine line of when we're trying to build this roster, how we have to deal with it, right? In terms of the draft. Sometimes you got to reach for, a certain player for a certain position. Other times, man, if a guy like that falls to your lap, very similar to what Cam Hayward, right? Cam Hayward, they had him rated to go a lot higher in the draft. But because he's sitting there at the end of the first round when the Steelers are picking, they're like, dude, this is a no-brainer. Yes, we're going to take this guy. So without a doubt, man, I love the pick by you, man. Love it.
Are you surprised?
I was, bitch, because, everyone is different in terms of when it's draft time. And this is no different than when we're going to be watching this live. You're going to see some GMs, they're going to say, well, look, I don't care about this guy being the best available player. I have to get this person right here. I have to fill this position. And they're going to reach and they'll potentially draft the guy, a couple of spots too early or maybe even a round too early. We've seen that as well. But then you got the others who are going to react and say, well, you know what? This is the best player. And I feel like if I just acquire the best talent, I can fit it and make my schemes work around it. So either way, like I said, that it was surprising because I never know, how you're going to react to it until you're in this situation. But
exactly.
I could definitely understand the logic behind it, though, without a doubt.
And I said however many times, offensive line, running back, offensive line, running back. But as I was doing these mock drafts and I'm seeing who's available at this spot, and I see that he's available, I'm like, damn, dude, I don't know if I could pass him up. So he was available on my board. He wasn't on your board. If he wasn't available for me, I probably would have went with you. You went left tackle from USC, correct?
I did.
Yes, I probably would have done the same thing. But since he was available on my board, I just thought I couldn't pass him up. So
I like it. All righty. No, but like I said, man, that's solid right there. So now we are in round 2. And I'll tell you some of the notable names that have been picked already in the second round. So Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama, he went 36 overall to the Dolphins. So that's the 4th pick in the second round. Tevin Jenkins, the offensive lineman that I talked about from Oklahoma State, the guy who's played right tackle, left tackle, inside a little bit. He went to Jacksonville, the 1st pick in the second round. Some more notable names off the board. Travis Etienne, he went to the Cardinals at pick 49. Let's see who else is up here. Oh, the tight end out of Penn State, Pat, was it Freiermuth? I think that's how you say his name. He went to Dallas, pick 44. And now, let's see, I am on the clock, obviously at pick 55. And some of the notable names right now. Javonte Williams, running back out of North Carolina.
Yep.
Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama.
I
mean, that right there. Now we got Georgia. We got the Georgia cornerback Tyson Campbell. He's available. Javon Holland, cornerback out of Oregon, is available as well. Peyton Turner, the edge rusher, he's available. And then we got a safety out of Syracuse, Andre Cisco as well. So Oh, and you still got Justin Hilliard, the inside linebacker from Ohio State. So you got a lot of pieces available right now, a lot of different players available that could definitely help us. And then just to go down a little bit further, Tylan Wallace, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma State's on the board as well.
You have Paris Ford?
Let's see. Yes, I do. Yep, the safety out of Pitt. Absolutely.
We got some Pitt players in this draft.
Dude. Oh yeah. You have Parrish, you have Ed. You have Pitt, you have Rashad Weaver, and you have Pat Jones. All of those guys definitely going to be going in this draft, you know. And then also the other running back from UNC, Michael Carter, he's still available as well during my portion of the pick. So right here, this is where I'm definitely going running back. The question is which running back, Javonte Williams or Najee Harris? Now, that's been one of the bigger questions because I think of the running backs coming out right now, I feel like it's a clear cut. The top three guys is Travis Etienne. Then you have Najee Harris and Javonte Williams. And the big question is, which one do you like more, Javonte or Najee? Now, for me, looking at both of these guys, Najee is the bigger guy. Javonte is slightly smaller than Najee, but obviously Javonte does give me a little bit more burst than I feel Najee has. But now, obviously, Najee played at Alabama, stacked. Cool. But then I saw Javonte go for 400 yards in a game against the U this year as well. Like, it was crazy. So this is, you know, that toughness right here, man. What do I decide? Who do I go with right here? I'm going to go Javonte. And the reason is this. With Najee, I love the fact that he's a big, more powerful back. But Javonte, man, the amount of missed tackles that he generates, he makes guys miss at a high rate. And I'm thinking to myself, our O-line is going to be going through a transition. I'm going to be having some of these younger guys that I'm drafting playing. I might not even be able to fill all of the needs positionally up front. So I'm going to want to have a guy that's a little bit more elusive. Whereas Najee, he doesn't give me that added elusive element. Now, granted, he can make guys miss, but that's not his forte. And since Travis Etienne is already off the board, I'm going to go with Javonte because I feel like I'm going to need that insurance package of, all right, if it's not the best up front, I got a guy that can make guys miss. And then I think he had 40 catches this year as well out the backfield. Mm-hmm. Him and Najee both showed that they could catch the ball at a higher clip. Obviously, Travis Etienne, he specializes in that, but it was good to see that Javonte did show that added element to his game. So that's why I'm going with him. And along with the fact that he was sharing the backfield. Michael Carter? Michael Carter's a good running back as well. He's right in this next tier of running backs. So to me, knowing that Javonte was very productive and didn't have a ton of carries because he had the other back in there with him, whereas Najee was the focal back. Najee was the guy who got all the touches. A little less mileage on that running back position, might last a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, for me, that's why I'm going to go with Javonte Williams with my pick at 55.
I'm not opposed to that at all. I like both running backs. You know, I'm a big Harris guy, though. I'm big on Harris.
I was too, man. I started looking at them tapes more and more, and I'm just like, all right, which still help us a little bit better from my perspective. But yeah, you can't go wrong with either of those guys, man.
Now, I have a question, though. I don't think Harris is going to be available at this point. How they have these rankings, unless you're thinking most scouts and most teams are having Williams above Harris, because that's what they have on this draft. They have Williams is 58 overall, Harris in the 60s.
Yes.
But do you even see Harris going in the second round? I think Williams they have late first, like early second or just second round, but I don't even know if this is possible. Like, I was thinking going into this, I would have to spend my first round pick to get Harris, but we see how this played out. Obviously, he's available for me in the second round.
I'll say this. I've done this simulator multiple times now, probably about 10 times total. And every single time, Travis Etienne goes a couple of picks, into that second round. But every single time, I've had these same running backs available to me in the second round. Yeah. So even though, obviously, us as fans, we see Najee and we got excited because of what he was able to do. But it's clear that he's not better than Travis Etienne based on, their college tapes. Now, granted, Najee had the better senior year, but Najee had the better offensive line as well, whereas Clemson's offensive line was not as good. And obviously, Travis was still able to produce at a high level. So with that understanding, I don't think that it's far-fetched that these guys could potentially be there in the second round. Based on the picks that are going, I mean, when you look at some of these guys that have went, no other running back went before then, you know what I mean, in terms of that first round. And the teams that really would need running backs, if you're thinking Buffalo, for example, right? They could potentially use an upgraded running back. They want Zaven Collins, the linebacker, and it makes sense because Matt Milano, who is their stud linebacker they paired with Tremaine Edmonds, they can't afford to pay him, so he has to hit the market. So you want to make sure you replace him with another high-end inside linebacker. So I could easily see where they would do that instead of drafting a running back. Kansas City, same case can be made for them, right? Do they need a running back? Sure, you got Clyde Edwards, but you can never have enough good running backs. For them, they went with Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback out of Tampa. The quarterback out of Florida State.
Who did the
Tampa.
Dolphins pick?
Let's see. The Dolphins, they went with the tackle. For mine, they went Christian Darsaw, the tackle out of Virginia Tech. And
yeah, they did tackle.
They went Jamar Chase at 3. Yeah.
Yeah, they did tackle with me, their third pick. Yeah, they went receiver. They went Jalen Waddle. What'd they do second round for you?
So
they're one of the teams linked.
So they have
back.
4. Yeah, they have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. So I told you they went tackle and wide receiver in the first round. Then they went Mac Jones at 36, which I could totally understand. And then they went with Liam Eichenberg. He's a tackle out of Notre Dame as well.
They went tackle receiver both rounds for me. That's interesting.
So, but to me, I'm like, if you got young quarterbacks, right, whether you're going with Tua next year or with them drafting Mac Jones and they feel like he could come in and compete, you got to protect those guys. That's the big thing, right? We said when it's young quarterbacks, the way you ease the load for them, you have great protection up front and a solid running game. So they could have went with the running back situation there, but I think based on the people that were available to them, I can see it. That's my thing. I'm trying. It
all depends on how these teams view running backs on a year-to-year basis, because there have been times where you have like 2 or 3 staple running backs in college.
Excuse me.
Everyone's assuming they're going to go late first round. Sometimes they just don't go, and it goes second round, even though they're the best running backs hands down in the draft. And maybe some analysts, scouts have them in their 20 to 30 range in terms of overall players. Just because of the running back position, people lay off them.
People don't value it. Absolutely. I mean, I've heard
because there are some really good, talented running backs, I think, in these mid-rounds we've talked about, too.
Well, and think about this. Just last year, I mean, we were all surprised that Clyde was the one that went at the end of the first round. We thought, okay, maybe it would be a JK. Maybe it would be some of the other backs that were coming out at that time. But the running back position as a whole, I feel like if you're not viewed as a top 5 talent, teams aren't afraid to, wait to the second round, wait to the third round to fill that need. Not saying that it's right, but just based on the shelf life of that position, that's the biggest reason. If it's not a generational talent, if it's not a guy that can come in and just change the face of your franchise, your Saquon Barkley's, your Christian McCaffrey's, that's why I'm not surprised by them, pushing it back and Travis Etienne being the first back off the board going in the second round. I can see that to me personally, man.
So I'm in a tough spot because I took Jeremiah with the first pick. And I feel like I definitely need to address offensive line. That's been one of the things I've been talking about so much.
Yeah.
But the talented offensive line right now, isn't completely there. I see the value in Harris, in Williams. We got Creed Humphrey at center. I don't know how you feel about him. Jalen Mayfield at tackle. I think a lot of people are kind of high on him. They see him maybe as a first-round talent as well. We're going to figure out the offensive line later. We're going Harris. You know what? I was even thinking Paris Ford. I don't know if Paris Ford could fit into that hybrid safety linebacker role, or even if we drafted him, you could move Edmonds into that role that I've talked about so much. But it goes back to, I think, a little bit what you said. Like, even if you want to talk about this, even if a player fits into that mold and could be perfect, you still got to want to hit people. Like, that's...
Yes. You could be a great athlete. You can,
you could hit as much as you want in Madden.
You can lift. Absolutely. and the thing is, you could look great hitting in practice when it's a drill where the guy's not going to hit you back. It's designed for you to win. But it's different when that running back is coming in that hole, that offensive lineman is running up on you, and you're like, I don't have the same type of crazy gene that guy has. You know what I mean? And that's where you start to see it get a little different. And from my personal experience, the safeties that I've seen move into the box, the biggest thing that they struggle with is the mentality element of it. From a physical standpoint, they're capable of doing the same things. A lot of times, from a size standpoint, they're not too far off. but the mentality is different. When you have conversations with them, they're more excited about interceptions and PBUs, whereas your traditional linebackers, we're more excited about tackles for losses and sacks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can just see the different mentality. But from personal experience, even when I was in Buffalo, a guy that I thought came in and did a great job of showing that he could make that transition from a safety position or a corner position in his case to a hybrid linebacker like you're speaking of is a guy, Brian Scott. Played with him 4 years in Buffalo. He played at Penn State. He was a corner. I think was a first-round draft pick to the Falcons back when they had Vic as well. And from there, man, obviously he transitioned from corner to safety. Safety came to Buffalo, and we started using him as that hybrid linebacker. And that was the biggest issue with him early on was the mentality of hat in hands. You can't avoid contact in the box. You got to, initiate it. They're not always, that's not their forte a lot of the time. So it took him some time to get comfortable with that. But then he was obviously able to do it towards the end of it. And he was able to have a nice, career doing those type of things. But that's the dicey element of it. Morgan Burnett, he could do it athletically, but mentally he did not want to do that. So that's the only thing I get nervous about when we talk about taking these hybrid safety type guys and putting them in the box on a full-time basis, that mentality, because it's different, man. It's a big time difference.
Sure.
All right.
It's a really good idea. It definitely is a really good idea just on paper, but I'm going with Harris. We need a running back.
I like it.
I'm a big fan of Harris, so
you can't go wrong with Harris.
My team's loaded with talent right now.
Hey,
I didn't address the offensive line though.
so you can see and now we're gonna start running into that territory of, do you ever address it?
I might not with who's available right now.
Right. So you stay best available, but the problem is knowing what our team is gonna be when we get back out here, because now the caveat was, hey, knowing that we need to address the O-line since we're gonna bring Ben back at this number. We have to address that. If not, he's put out there with less protection around him. Now you can see how the territory runs. You know what I mean? So that's the dicey element of it. If you don't address it in the draft, we don't have the resource to address it through free agency. Mm-hmm. So now we're kind of in a bond here. But that's the beauty of this thing, man. This is fun. So now I'm on in the third round, and just a quick update on the guys who are gone, the guys are off my board. So after I went Javonte Williams in the second, Najee Harris went the last pick of the second round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me see who else is notable off of that. Oh, Paris Ford, he went to Philly. Yeah. Joining his pit brother, Vontae Maddox over there. Michael Carter, the other running back at UNC, went to Denver, pick 71. Oh, man. Who else is gone? Let's see. Oh, no, hold on. Is he still on the board?
Who?
Hold on now. I feel like I already looked over his name. He's not available. Yeah, he's gone. All right. So I was looking at the outside linebacker from Washington, Joe Tryon or whatever? Joe Tryon. Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I love his game. Prototypical size, long, I think he's 6'4", 6'5", 260 range. I would love to have paired him up with TJ. Yeah. And some of my other mocks, he was available.
In the third round?
This one he went at 78. So obviously he went 9 picks ahead of me. You know what I mean? Okay. So you could just see he was still in that same range, but obviously on my board, so Joe went, and then who else? Rashad Weaver out of Pitt. He went 2 picks ahead of me at 85 to the Titans.
I still have him.
Yeah, so you can just see, like I said, this is the beauty of it. I like that because these are guys where I'm looking to myself and I'm saying, okay, I know I still have what needs. I still need to address the interior part of my offensive line. I'm not going to, my perspective, I'm not touching quarterback early on since I didn't have a guy that I loved available to me at 24. I wasn't in love with Mac Jones at, you know what I mean? Excuse me. Mac went ahead of 24, so I didn't have anyone that I necessarily loved during that time frame. And Mac Jones didn't go ahead of that. I just didn't love him more than I loved the left tackle out of USC at 24. So that was the big thing right there. So now the guys that are available to me, and I pretty much have narrowed this down to 2 players, but just some of the notable names. You got the D lineman out of Ohio State. Tommy, was it Tagaya? I think that's how you say it. You got Shakur Brown, cornerback out of Michigan State. Chaz Surratt, linebacker out of UNC. I definitely like him a lot. Very athletic, man. Just a ball magnet. Makes a ton of plays. Really good guy, man. Really good guy. Another guy that I'm really excited about, Ben Cleveland, guard out of Georgia. He's available to me. Then let's see. We got Brevin Jordan, tight end out of Miami. Yep. Trey Brown, a cornerback out of Oklahoma. Couple more running backs up here, but Davis Mills, quarterback out of Stanford, he's available as well right now. But for me, it boils down to two people, Chaz Surratt and Ben Cleveland. I think Chaz can be more impactful in terms of me pairing him with a Devin Bush type, right? Me putting him in this defense, I think his athletic ability and just his range can ultimately help this team in a big time way defensively. But at the same time, I understand we have to address this offensive line. So with that being said, knowing that Pouncey's retired, knowing that DeCastro, we have to see, okay, are we going to restructure him from a contract standpoint? Are we going to release him? Are we going to trade him? What are we doing with him? Either way, I need a little bit more added insurance in there. So for me, I'm drafting Ben Cleveland, and I look at it like this. If DeCastro comes back, great. That just means I got competition between Cleveland and Dotson at the other guard spot. And I already told you, I'm a big believer in competition. And worst case scenario is this. DeCastro plays at a high level this year. Cleveland comes in and starts. Dotson's the rotation guy, right? But then once, next year happens, more than likely you make a move on DeCastro or whatever they decide to do with that scenario. But if they did want to make a move, you already have a very, adequate starter in place in Kevin Dotson. So to me, I think you address multiple things right there. And you never know. With those interior guys, some of them do have the positional flexibility to move in a play center. We've seen that before with your BJ Finneys. We've seen that before just around the league in general. I mean, even the Pouncey brothers, they play guard and center. They've been able to do both. Like, that's what they're capable of. So knowing that, I'm going to take my chance on Ben Cleveland and say, hey, at worst case, bare minimum, I have my guard for the next couple of years. But I could have a little bit more than that if he's able to show some positional flexibility. But either way, I think that, man, he helps the O-line in a major way right now.
So if you have my board, like I said, I have Rashard Weaver as the first guy still on the board here. I have Ben Cleveland too. I was thinking between him, Cleveland, and Jordan. I need to address this offensive line, and I'm thinking if I can do that this round, Patrick Jones will be available for me next round. But how do you feel about Weaver versus Jones or someone in that maybe edge role, outside linebacker type of role?
So this is my thing with both of those guys. I think both of those guys are really good players. I think both of those guys are going to come in and have a positive impact on defense. My problem is they're more built for 4-3. So me taking one of those guys this early, knowing that they're going to be limited predominantly to just playing sub package ball, meaning when your Mike Hiltons and Cam Sutton's are on the field, when we go our 4 down D linemen, I just don't personally want to handcuff myself to either one of those guys because I don't like watching both of those guys. I think they're great hand in the ground, burst off the ball guys, but we play a 3-4. So we know in our base personnel, excuse me, they're going to have to be able to drop in coverage, whether it's zone dropping, whether it's some of the matchup zone that we've talked about that Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt can do, right? Those two guys, they're a little bit bigger body. They're more 4-3-DN types. So for me personally, I wouldn't take them in Pittsburgh just because I don't want to put them in a position where they're going to be limited, or I'm going to have to put them out there and ask them to do something that I just don't think they're physically capable of doing at a high level. And that's the coverage element of it. If we ran it kind of like Seattle, where they have a designated rush guy, then I think it works.
Irvin.
I think you absolutely. Yeah. So I'm taking one of those guys and I'm saying, I'm not worried about you dropping in coverage. You're going to rush every time. So even though, on paper, it's this hybrid 4-3 that they run, we know that, hey, that guy is not dropping in any coverage. Even if he's standing up, he's always going to be rushing. They just stand him up sometimes to change the look of it. In Pittsburgh, we don't do that. In Pittsburgh, our outside guys got to cover. They got to drop. So that's the biggest reason why I just don't think that they fit what we're trying to get right here.
I appreciate that clarification.
Players, though, man. Because like with Pat, for example, Pat from the hometown, that's a 757 dude. So I want him here in Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? I had a chance to see him, like I said, when I was obviously with the Steelers, we would come over there and see them practice. I'm a fan of him. I like his game. I just don't think that, him standing up playing in a 3-4 is going to be what's best for his career, though. So that's the biggest reason for me, man.
All right, I'm going to take my medicine. Ben Cleveland.
There we go.
We're matching picks here.
Okay. Man, sometimes you got to address that offensive line, man.
You know, I wouldn't mind having Jordan double the tight ends, him and Ebron combo, but I really need to address the offensive line on my board. So you spoke highly of him.
Yeah.
So it works for me.
I like it, man. All right. So now, let's see. Who do we have on this board? We have guys that just came off. So obviously we're in the 4th round now. Guys that have come off since we picked at 87. Chaz Surratt, the linebacker out of UNC, he literally went the next pick. He went at 88 to the Lions on my board. Let's see. The Browns, they took the running back out of Memphis, Kenneth Gainwell. The running back out of Tech, Khalil Herbert, he went to Buffalo. So you can see some of the teams that we talked about early on passing up on running backs. They're getting those kicks in now in the 3rd round.
Okay.
Let's see. Davis Mills, the quarterback out of Stanford, he went in the 3rd round to the Buccaneers at pick 95. The wide receiver out of Wake Forest, Sage Surratt, he went to the Chargers at 97. Trey Brown, cornerback out of Oklahoma, went to the Cowboys. Let's see who else. Oh, and the quarterback out of Georgia, Jamie Newman, he went to the Saints at pick 105. That was their comp pick. Now the tight end out of the U, Brevin Jordan, he went to the Jacksonville Jaguars at pick 106 in the 4th round. Let's see who else. Sean Wade, cornerback out of Ohio State, he went to Dallas, pick 115. Any more notable names? Trey Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse, he's gone to Minnesota. The guard from Alabama, Deontay Brown, he went to the Texans. All right, so guys that are available for me right now, I have Cameron McGrone. He's available out of Michigan. I have Baron Browning, inside linebacker out of Ohio State, is available to me. I got the safety out of Georgia is available to me, Richard LeConte. Now, based on Pro Football Focus, that is listed as one of the Steelers' draft needs. Their top 3 needs is quarterback, guard, and then safety.
Okay, he's
so
not
that's
on mine.
Interesting. Okay, so that's interesting that Richard is still available on mine. Then I also have Devin Diablo. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. Out of Virginia Tech, safety out of there. And let's see, I got another edge rusher out of Florida State, Joshua Kando. And then we got a corner out of LSU, Kerry Vincent Jr. Now, some people debate if LSU is DBU. They say you can't go wrong drafting a corner out of LSU. That's what they tell me. And then I still have Patrick Jones, guys we talked about out of Pitt. He's still available on my board, but I just told you, a little while ago, I don't think he fits with what we're trying to do schematically. So for me, it comes down to Baron Browning and obviously Cameron McGrone. I think that's how you say his last name. I don't want to butcher it. Both of those guys are inside linebacker types. Both of them are similar build. Now on this, they have Cameron literally rated 2, slots higher. They have him ranked as 123rd best player. Baron is the 125th best player. For me personally, I'm going to go Baron right here. I'm an Ohio State guy because of Shazier, because of Cam. All right. So knowing the history of my relationship with Ohio State players, in particular their linebackers, I'm leaning towards Baron right here. Now, not taking anything away from Cameron, but when I think of Michigan these past couple of years, hasn't really moved the needle for me. I mean, we've seen they've been very underwhelming, especially in some of their bigger games. Ohio State, they've been the opposite of that. They've performed at a high level in a lot of big games. And knowing that this guy was a staple on that defense, it really makes me get excited about the thought of pairing him with Devin Bush. And along with the fact that how awesome would it be to have my Michigan and Ohio State rivalry right there at my inside linebacker spot? They can compete to show who's the better linebacker of the two. Which team produces the better linebackers out of the Big Ten? So that's why for me, I'm going to go with Baron Browning. My pick at 128 in the 4th round.
Sure. Man, you kind of put a little buzzkill on my Patrick Jones strategy here.
I mean, I like Patrick Jones, though. I feel like...
Because he's available on mine.
So this is, the equivalent would be the J.J. Watt element. So we talked about J.J. Watt. If J.J. Watt comes to Pittsburgh, how does he fit? We said if it's base, J.J. is going to bump in and play 5 technique in the 3-4. If it's sub package, he'll stay on the edge, and then obviously he'll rush, and do his thing like he normally does. Difference between Pat Jones and JJ, though, JJ has a bigger frame. So JJ can bump in and play the role of a Cam Hayward or a Stephon Tuitt because he's built in a similar fashion. Excuse me, Patrick Jones, though, he's a little leaner. He's more in the build of a Carlos Dunlap type, right? The long-term pass rusher in Cincinnati who just got traded to Seattle. Mm-hmm. He reminds me a little bit more of him. I'm not sure if he's as athletic as Carlos. And Carlos is pretty athletic to be that size, but even Carlos isn't dropping into coverage like that, you know?
Yeah.
So when I think of that, that's my big thing when it comes to Pat. I don't want Pat to just solely be drafted here to just be a sub-ball DN.
For sure. Makes sense.
But that's what it's ultimately going to be just based on schematically what we're doing. And unless they change it, you know what I mean? And we did start to see them run a lot more 4-3 defenses this year. We talked about where they had TJ Watt and Bud Dupree kind of roaming the inside and then bursting through the A and B gaps. We saw it show up a lot versus the Titans. Outside of that, though, we don't see a lot of base package 4-3. We see a lot of base package 3-4. So that's the thing. I just don't want to waste Pat's talent. I think he's a really good guy, and in the right opportunity, I think he's going to flourish. But I just don't think that's going to be here. As much as it hurts me, I just don't think it's going to fit, man.
Yeah, because it does in one way. Yeah. It just makes you want to, just because, like you said, he's really talented, and we could use the edge rusher, but it could be limiting us a little bit. Damn it, dude. So here's who I got on the board right now. I got Deontay Brown.
Here we go.
I got Deontay Brown, guard from Alabama.
Yep.
Browning from Ohio State, just like you. In terms of tackles, I got Robert Jones from Middle Tennessee, Spencer Brown, tackle from Northern Iowa.
Yeah. I like my
Josh Myers, center
now.
from Ohio State, and then Drake Jackson, center from Kentucky. These are the guys that I'm thinking right now. To be honest with you, I don't know the difference or if any of these guys stick out, so I'm going to be relying on you if you have dug this deep into, I don't know where we're at, the 4th round right now, into some of these guys. It seems like the offensive tackle position is pretty talented. I don't know if that reaches all the way down this far into the 4th round, if there's a difference maybe between some of these guys. Because I was honestly just trying to look up where some of those guys are and other people's draft databases. I can't even find some of these guys. So I'm not sure if PFF has them just ranked different and they're not on the radar for other people.
Yeah, obviously PFF, they do a really good job in terms of having extensive breakdowns. And obviously you just got to pay for it and it'll give you their versions of it. But you already know how I sometimes disagree with their analysis on players. But the thing that I do that I do like is the fact that them putting them in some form of an order at least helps you to gauge where, just talent-wise, who they could stack up against, who they could compare to. And from there, they also give you the names, so then you can just kind of Google it. And that's what I've been doing, because obviously it's not like I've sat here and watched 1,000 college games.
Yeah, we're at this point in the draft right now. I think the first 3 rounds, you're familiar with the names, you've seen certain things on them. At this point, I'm like, what the hell? I mean, I need an offensive lineman. The top one is this dude from Alabama. But I feel like I need to address the tackle position. So the first guy, although I've heard some things about Josh Myers from Ohio State at center. So I don't know. We definitely need a center upgrade. So actually, that's probably...
You got to think. So not only a center upgrade, the starting center retired, and then depending on how you feel about J.C. Hassener, depending on how you feel about him, you might be looking to say, hey, I want to upgrade that. I've gotten mixed reviews about J.C. Some people think that, he's good enough to help you if the pieces are around him. In particular, you got 2 strong guards there. He can get you out of, a season if need be. I've had some people that think that he's terrible. So it just depends on who you're talking to and your perspective on it. But I don't think that you could go wrong drafting offensive linemen this year for the Steelers, because
I need to, yeah.
Because I guess the spot that we feel most confident in still has the biggest question mark in terms of DeCastro. He's clearly the best offensive lineman, but we're asking ourselves, was it health related or was it taking a step back from a performance standpoint?
Could he have a renaissance next year?
Right. So outside of him, we got questions. I mean, how confident are you going forward with Chooks at right tackle? Do you think that Banner can move over to left tackle and still give you what you need? How do you feel about, your center and guard position as well, opposite of DeCastro? So I don't think, anytime you're taking an offensive lineman in this year's draft, I just don't think it could be a negative thing personally.
All right, so here's what I'm thinking now. I was thinking Myers was center, but now if DeCastro's coming back, and if you're telling me potentially Cleveland, the dude we took in the 3rd round, could maybe go to center, I don't want to double dip on that. Okay. I maybe want to bring some competition to the tackle position. So the number 1 guy that they have on their boards is Robert Jones, tackle from Middle Tennessee. That's who I'm going with. So that is my 4th round pick.
Like it. And I like how we flip-flop too. We went to the 4th round. I never said my pick.
Wait, did you say your pick? Didn't you say Browning?
I didn't say my pick.
You said Browning from Ohio State?
Oh, that was you're on your first 4th round. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm on my second 4th round right now. Yeah. Now
So now I'm at 141 right now.
Myers is still available. Him and Drake Jackson.
So did you pick him as your 141 pick then?
No, I picked tackle. It was the first tackle on the board.
At 141?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm at 140. I'm at 141 right now.
Okay, so we're on the same page then.
Yeah,
we're good then.
23 was pick number 23 in the 4th round was the tackle. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, pick 23. Was it 128 overall or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm at 141 overall right now.
Perfect. Yep, me too. All right, so guys that have went off the board since then. The edge rusher out of Florida State, Joshua Kendo. The safety out of Georgia, Richard LeConte. He's gone at 130 to Jacksonville. Let's see. Oh, the linebacker out of Michigan that we were talking about, Cameron McGrone. He's gone at 132 overall to the Browns. Let's see who else. Pat Jones. He went to Green Bay. Now, I'm a little surprised by that because with Green Bay, they're changing coordinators over there, I think. Yeah, if I remember correctly, Mike Pettin was the guy there. They got rid of him this offseason. New coordinator has come in. So I'd have to see what the new coordinator is, but that could make a lot more sense because initially I'm like, Pettin runs a multiple, but it's still a 3-4 predominantly in terms of how he operates. But that does make sense, man. Okay, new coordinator. And potentially, let's see, Preston Smith out there, if they're not sold on him because he obviously had the one really good year and then last year it kind of, went back to what we've become accustomed to with him. Could definitely see that pick. That makes sense. All right, let's see who else. Oh, the safety out of Virginia Tech. Was it Divine Diablo? He's gone. He went to the Patriots at 139. So on the board right now for me, I have wide receiver out of Stanford, Simi Fihoko. I have the corner out of Cal, Cameron Bynum. Then I also have edge rusher out of Northern Iowa, Ellison Smith. And then I have Josh Myers, the center out of Ohio State, and Drake Jackson, the center out of Kentucky. So as I'm sitting here, similar conversations being had. Ellison, small school guy, athlete though, right? Looked him up, played tight end, receiver. I think he ran track, wrestled. So he definitely has the ability to stand up. Now he's a bigger guy. I think he's 6'6", 270 in that range, if I remember correctly. So he does have some size on him. So obviously goes back to the same question with Pat Jones. Do I think that he can stand up and do what we need him to do in this defense? Because we asked our guys to cover. It makes me nervous thinking about it. I'm not 100% sold. For me personally, I'm going to go with Cameron Bynum here, the corner out of Cal, because personally,
makes sense.
Knowing Mike Hilton or Cam Sutton, potentially one or both of those guys could be gone. I want to have a guy that I know could come in right now and play in that nickel role. And then best case, he comes in and surprises and shows that he could play on the outside as well. If I, a year from now need to make some moves, whether it's with Joe Hayden or Steven Nelson, I already have a guy in-house as well. So I like that. And it also just adds competition to that room. Guys like James Pierre, guys like Justin Lane. Absolutely. It's going to let those guys know that, hey, your job is not secure. Your spot, just because you were on the team last year, does not mean you have a spot this year. You have to continue to improve and get better. That pick definitely does that for me, man.
All right. So Josh Myers and Drake Jackson, the two centers that were available however many picks ago, are still available now. I'm just loading up on offensive linemen at this point. Maybe I could strike gold. One of these dudes in my later round becomes like a Dotson for us next year, a bona fide starter for the team. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go Josh Myers with this pick. So just loading up on the offensive line these last 3 rounds. I went heavy on the talent in the first 2 rounds. So now I gotta back up the talk that I was talking about with the offensive line.
But now this is the issue, right? You see how from a priority standpoint, we're trying to address a major need with, talent that might not be adequate enough for what we're going to ask them to do. That's the issue. You know
I'm
what I mean?
shooting darts at a dartboard right now.
Yeah,
You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. But to me, like, I'm not as comfortable taking that approach if I know Ben is the quarterback next year. Ben is the quarterback next year. I feel like I have to put a lot more emphasis on protecting him, because I know even if I get this high end talent, if he doesn't have the time, it's going to look like last year, right? I know people are still 50-50 on arm strength versus the protection as to why the passes weren't going over a certain yardage. Whatever it is, I don't want to see another, a replay of that. So I feel like if I can address the O-line, that at least takes away one element of it. And if it's not the O-line, well, then I know it's the latter, it's the arm. And then the answer is there for itself. So either way, I'll be fine. So understanding that as the mindset, sitting here at 217 and with the 6th round. And first off, let me go back. I got a very important pick I need to highlight.
Okay.
Let's see, where are we at? Oh, here we go. 4th, 5th. Ah, there we go. Mr. Pick 176. I always feel some type of way about those guys, because typically that's my range. You know what I mean? That's my range. So I definitely like, I'm 178, but I just like that 176, 177, 178 range. Man, I got to see these guys, man. And look at that. The beauty of it, all 3 linebacker edge types. You got Garrett Wallow out of TCU. You got, Dylan Hayes out of Notre Dame, and then KJ Britt out of Auburn, linebacker going to Green Bay. So I always got to highlight my middle guys, man. But as we progress, let's see who else has gone off this board. Yeah, was that Larry Roundtree? Oh, that's the running back out of Missouri. Mm-hmm. Went to Buffalo as well, so Buffalo's definitely adding up on that. Ian Book, quarterback out of Notre Dame. He went at 207 in the 6th round to the Colts. Let's see who else that was notable. Oh, the tight end out of UVA, Tony Paulgen? He went to the Patriots. Yeah, those are pretty much the bigger name guys. All right, so now for me, the guys that are available. I have, where are we at? Oh, here we go. All right, so I have Javian Hawkins, running back out of Louisville. I already addressed running back earlier, so I'm good there. I have Michael Minette, center out of Penn State. I got the tight end out of Georgia, Trey McKitty. Then I got an edge rusher out of Coastal Carolina, Taryn Jackson. Got an edge rusher out of App State, Demetrius Taylor. Got a good amount of edge rushers right here in this little portion of it. Got a guy that I actually do like a lot at linebacker, Tony Fields II out of West Virginia. Yep, he's available as well.
Yep.
So for me, what I'm going to do, knowing that I have another pick, later in this round at 225, I'm going to address the center position, right? Can never have enough interior offensive linemen. This is a guy that could potentially bump out, add more competition, whether it's at center or at guard. But like I told you earlier, you can never have enough, just interior offensive linemen to battle it out this year. Offensive line in general this year for the Steelers is going to be a pressing need. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Michael Minette, center out of Penn State. That's my guy at 217.
I'm thinking the same thing. He's the number 1 on my board too. Tony Fields is on my board as well. I still have some offensive linemen, tackles, and guards and everything below them. So I like your mindset there. I think if I'm going to go Fields, obviously I took Jeremiah from Notre Dame, my first pick, but I don't think it would be terrible to have some depth at linebacker. I'm assuming he'll be available at 225 for me. So I'm going to stick with the theme I've been going to these past however many rounds. I would go McKinney if he was available on my board. He's available on your board for tight end. Unfortunately, he was picked, I think it was like 5 or 6 picks ahead of me. But with who's available right now, I'm going to be going same pick, center from Penn State, Michael. What'd you say, Michael Manet? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Manet, however you want to say it, man.
I agree with you, and I'm assuming Fields will be available for the 225 pick, which is probably what I'm going to be doing there.
All right. So if you're good over here,
wow, he went the pick before me.
Same here. He went to Chicago right at 224. Yep, I tried to do the same thing. So literally on my board, right? So we took Michael Manet at 217. From there, Trey McKitty, he goes 2 picks later to Chicago. That was the tight end that we talked about out of Georgia. Mustafa Johnson, interior D lineman out of University of Colorado, went to Minnesota. Then Tony Fields, the linebacker out of West Virginia, goes 1 pick before us at 224. Yep, to the Chicago Bears. So now I'm on the clock at 225, and similar names are still available, right? Running back out of Louisville, Javian Hawkins, Taryn Jackson, the edge rush out of Coastal Carolina, Demetrius Taylor, edge rush out of App State, Frank Darby, wide receiver out of Arizona State. Definitely excited about him. I think he can come in and be, a productive player. But for me, I'm going to go with Taryn Jackson, the edge rusher out of Coastal Carolina, 6'2", 260. I think he had 8.5 sacks this year. I like him, number one, because Coastal Carolina used to be a small school. Now, granted, I think they're a 1A Conference USA right now, but I still like his build. I like his mold. He kind of reminds me of Alex Highsmith. Now, obviously, Alex was a lot more productive towards the end of his career at Charlotte, but to me, still very similar in terms of, mid-tier school, not a Power 5 conference, but very productive nonetheless. I look at it as he could come in and provide depth. Obviously, Ola Adeniyi is a guy that they could want back or they could allow to leave and hit the market. Either way, we're going to have to bring in some outside linebackers. So he gives me depth. He also adds special teams value. When we talk about your Pat Jones and the different guys we said, the bigger body, more trying to fit, round peg and square hole type situations. From a special team standpoint, they're not going to be able to give me what I need. 6'6", 270, 6'6", 280 isn't running down covering kicks. It's not protecting on punt. It's not rushing the punt. It's not going to be blocking on kickoff return. With this, but with the guy from, with the young guy from Coastal Carolina, though, in terms of Taryn Jackson, 6'2", 260, I'm telling him as soon as he gets here, cut some of that weight, get to about that 255, 250 range. He can give me, core 4, in terms of punt return, kickoff return. You need those type of guys. And we obviously know that you can never have enough talented guys on that part of the field, because we've seen when we take, and make special teams a priority and upgrade it like we did this year, it could be a weapon. It could be very productive. We've seen in the past where we've tried to cut corners and not really put, resources on that, in that phase of the game, and how it's been very detrimental to our success. So with that being the case, that's why I went with what I did in terms of going Taryn Jackson at 225.
I think we need to address the tight end position, but maybe if we just don't do it, because at this point in the draft, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it anymore.
Well, 6- and 7-round guys, I mean, they're not even expected to make the team. Honestly, you draft them more so just to fill out the end of the roster and get a little competition. But most of the time, those guys aren't even viewed as, locks to make the roster. They're just a higher signing bonus version of an undrafted free agent. That's the biggest difference when you get to 5th, 6th, 7th round, man.
You know who I'm seeing, though, that sticks out to me on my board? I don't know if he's on your board. He might.
Who you got?
Jacoby Stevens, safety from LSU. Now, I'm looking at some of these other mock databases. They have him listed as like an outside linebacker, and some people have him as a 3rd or 4th round talent. It's the 6th round LSU safety, potential hybrid safety, person that could roam around the field, make things happen, help you in run coverage, pass coverage. Dude, I like that pick. So that's who I'm going to be going with. 6th round. I think maybe just a high upside play there. Safety from LSU, Jacoby Stevens.
Well, I do hope that pick works out, because that's similar to what we did. This would have been in 2015, I believe. We took, what was his name? Travis Feeney, hybrid safety linebacker, outside rusher from Washington, right? Early in his career was very productive at Washington. Roman, just like what you said, right? Fast, could do all these things, but has some injury history and stuff like that. But the problem was when he came to Pittsburgh, the mentality was different. He was more of the athlete mentality and not necessarily of the I got to hit you in the mouth mentality. So he kind of was stuck in between really good athlete in terms of being in the box, but necessarily not the mindset to play in the box, but then not athletic enough to play on the back end either. So he kind of was stuck, not really having a positional home. And that kind of, was a detriment to his start of his career and ultimately ended up, being the reason why he wasn't able to stick here in Pittsburgh. But that's the only thing when it gets late in the draft like this, man, you're taking flyers on guys. I mean, I'm gonna be doing the same thing over here because it's a reason why they're still available, right? They weren't as clear cut. They weren't as defined playmakers early on. And that's why they weren't, taken early on. But you never know with these guys, man. You can still find good value. Obviously, we talk about the historical high, talent or very talented players that you can find at the end of the draft, your Brady's, your ABs and things like that. But trust me, man, even me as a 6th-round pick, playing 9 years, that's still successful. So you can find those type of guys. Absolutely. You can definitely find those guys. So for me, on my board right now, Jacoby Stevens, he went 3 picks ahead. He went at 241 to the Patriots. Yeah, he went to the Patriots. The tight end out of Michigan, Nick Ebanks. He went 239 to the Chargers. That was the tight end out of Michigan that I was eyeing as well.
He's still on my board.
I like it. Let me think who else. Frank Darby was the wide receiver out of wide receiver out of Arizona State that I liked as well. He went to Chicago at pick 230. And then Demetrius Taylor, which was the other edge rush that we were talking about a little while ago, he went to Jacksonville at 227. So on my board available right now, I have Brian Robinson Jr. That's the other running back out of Alabama. Got Quentin Morris, tight end out of Bowling Green. Keith Taylor, cornerback out of Washington. David Moore, the quarterback out of Central Michigan. And then the guy that I am going to take, the guy that I am excited about because of his name. Linebacker out of Ohio State, Tuff Borland. I love it because his name is Tuff. It's T-U-F. Now, last name Borland. I know a lot of people are going to ask, is he related to Chris Borland, the linebacker from Wisconsin? They got drafted to the 49ers in the 3rd round. Had 100+ tackle season his rookie year. Then he just retired out the blue. Of no relation. But Tuff Borland does come from an NFL lineage, has a lineage of high-end talent in his family. His father, I think it's Travis Borland. I believe that's his first name. He played at Ohio State as well. This would have been a while ago, but he was a very productive player as well. So knowing that he has that lineage, I'm thinking to myself, who are the guys on our team that have come from, NFL families? Anthony Chickillo, 6th-round pick, played 5-6 years now he's in the league. I think he's in Denver right now, right? Who else? Robert Spillane, a.k.a. Bobby Spillane. We know what he is. So we talked about what his granddad, was able to accomplish. Who else on the team has NFL lineage? The Edmond brothers, right? So knowing all of those guys and how they've been able to have positive careers to this point, I'm going to go that well again. And it's at Ohio State. You know how I feel about my Ohio State linebackers. So I'm taking Tuff Borland, pick 244 out of Ohio State.
So I still have, is it Ebanks or Eubanks from Michigan?
I'm going to say Eubanks.
That's what I think, because there's a U in it. So
it is, yeah.
As much as I just said, literally the last round, I think I'm passing on all tight ends for the rest of this draft. Dude, he's still available. I looked at his stats. They're not that good, but he's more of a blocking tight end, which, since we already have Ebron, Vance McDonald retired, I think kind of makes sense at this point. Some people have him as like a top 10 or 11 tight end in this draft. So if that's going to be in the 7th round for this thing, I think that's pretty decent value. So I'm going to be going Eubanks, tight end from Michigan, with this 18th pick in the 7th round, 244 overall.
I like it. Let's go.
Kind of fits a need. I don't know how much time he'd be getting. Maybe it's like 10 snaps or something, but it could be worthwhile. I mean, we already do have Ebron, so it's not like we're asking him to come in and be the best tight end on the team.
Exactly.
I think it makes sense for me.
Yeah, for me, man, I like those type of picks where I already have my starter. This guy is going to be an accessory. If it comes in and he pans out, great. If not, we don't really lose anything though right there. So yeah, I definitely like that a lot right there in terms of that pick. Whew. So now here we are at 253, the final pick for the Steelers in the draft. And who's available? So guys that went off the board after I took Tough Borland, the running back out of Alabama, Brian Robinson Jr., he's gone. Keith Taylor, cornerback out of Washington, he is gone. Josh Bebe, wide receiver out of Illinois, he is gone. And then the safety out of Texas A&M, Leon O'Neal Jr. is gone. So who's available for me right now? David Moore, the quarterback out of Central Michigan. Omari Gaynor, linebacker out of Florida State. Justin Rice, the linebacker out of Arkansas State. Trey Dean III, the safety out of Florida, is available. Trey Hill, center out of Georgia, is available. And then I have a wide receiver out of Texas Tech, TJ Vashir. He's available to me. And cornerback out of Oregon State. Anybody that's watched Last Chance U, I'm a big fan of the show Last Chance U. This guy was up there, Nashawn Wright, cornerback. Now he's a longer body corner, around that 6', 6'1" range. So definitely a taller guy. But for me, as I'm looking at this, I'm not touching linebackers right now. I'm probably not going to touch Trey Hill, the center out of Georgia. To me, it's coming down to Trey Dean III, that's the safety out of Florida, and Nashawn Wright, the cornerback out of Oregon State. I think both of these guys, the reason why I'm looking at them in particular is because in the 7th round, now I'm thinking more so about who's going to be able to come in and give me special teams value. Who can come in and give me playmaking ability up there, right? Jordan Dangerfield, special teams captain for the past, he was special teams captain, I think the past 2 years, if I believe correctly. He's a free agent right now. How are we replacing that productivity? Derek Watt. What's the scenario going to be like with him? He was supposed to come in and be the calming force, but obviously his availability wasn't there as much as we needed. So I'm asking myself, well, which of these two guys do I think could perform better? Nashawn Wright or Trey Dean III? Now, I like Nashawn Wright. I think he's the better athlete of the two, but I think Trey Dean is the more physical of the two. So for me, I'm going to go with Trey Dean because when it comes to special teams, I don't want you to just be a great athlete. I need you to have that mentality that you're ready to go wreck something. And the thing with Jordan Dangerfield, he will go wreck it. So I'm hoping that my man Trey Dean III could do similar things.
I like your reasoning. Trey Dean is not on my board. You know what I do have, though? I have your boy Tough Borland still on my board for this last pick. So is that some value?
Okay.
I'm thinking cornerback, though. I am thinking cornerback just for all the reasons that you said in the past. And I think you add that special teams element you've been talking about, too. I think it makes sense as well. Not potentially having Mike Hilton or Cam Sutton back.
Yeah.
I think just drafting a late flyer on a cornerback makes sense.
Oh, it can't hurt
so
at all,
I'm going to be going with Nashawn Wright.
Yes.
That's
I'm glad you took him. I wanted him. That's my Last Chance U guy, man. Him and his little brother. His little brother's at is at Oregon State now as well. So yes. Anytime you're taking those guys, I get excited about it.
Cool.
All right. So just a quick recap.
What's your grade?
I got a B- on my grade.
Yep.
So for me, obviously just a quick recap. I went at 24. Elijah Vera Tucker, the left tackle out of USC. My 2nd round pick, I went with Javonte Williams, the running back out of North Carolina. Then I went with Ben Cleveland at my 87th overall pick, the guard out of Georgia. At pick 128, I went with Baron Browning, linebacker out of Ohio State. Pick 141, I went with Cameron Bynum, the cornerback out of Cal. Shout out to the University of Cal Berkeley. I like my Cal players because what? Marshawn Lynch. It's all good though. All right. At 217, I went with Michael Manette, however you want to pronounce that. That's the center out of Penn State as well. Then at pick 225, I went with Taryn Jackson, edge rusher out of Coastal Carolina. At 244, I went with Tough Borland, linebacker out of Ohio State. And then at 253, my final pick in the draft, one with Trey Dean III, the safety out of Florida.
So I got a B- as well. Man? I got a B- as well. So recap of my picks at number 24, Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa. Number 55, 2nd round pick, Najee Harris from Alabama. 87, Ben Cleveland, guard out of Georgia. Pick 128, Robert Jones, tackle Middle Tennessee. 141, Josh Myers, center, Ohio State. Pick 217, Michael Benet, center, Penn State. 225, Jacoby Stevens, safety, LSU or outside linebacker. 244, Nick Eubanks, tight end, Michigan. 253, Nashawn Wright, cornerback, Oregon State. I think the one that I messed up, there's one, I think at that 141 range, Josh Myers, center. I could have picked McKitty, tight end from Georgia. I think that was my mistake here. That was my mistake. I didn't go further down on the board. It is what it is, though. I'm happy with my draft.
Yeah. I was going to say, man, I like my draft. I feel like I addressed in my offensive line. I have my left tackle. So that's going to ultimately add competition to Zach Banner or Chooks or whoever else we want to bring in there. I got some interior offensive linemen in terms of Ben Cleveland and Michael Manette. Yeah. And then I got my defense, man. I got my running back and Javonte Williams. I thought was big. We said running back and offensive line were pressing needs. Dress that. And I got my linebackers, man. I got my Baron Browning, got my Tough Borland, got my special teams element in Trey Dean, got a little bit of depth in Taron Jackson. So I like it, man. This was smooth. This was real smooth.
Yeah, I think our drafts were pretty good.
And in the middle of this, we have breaking news.
What?
Are you ready for the breaking news? J.J. Watt just agreed to a 2-year deal to the Arizona Cardinals.
No.
It just popped up on my phone. Listen, man, it just popped up on USA Today. Yes, indeed.
Let me look this up.
Yep, 2-year contract, man. Just popped up. Let's see. What are the numbers? I'm not seeing numbers, but he posted a picture on Instagram with his Cardinals shirt on. Yep.
What?
It's official. So there you have it, man. Nothing like some breaking news in the middle of the podcast. So
do you have a reaction? Do you have any reasoning behind this?
Do
they have the numbers?
They don't have the numbers just yet. That's
Hold on, here it is. Here it is. Like, 2 for 31.
Okay,
23 million guaranteed.
I can understand that. I mean, that's a ton of money right there, man. It's still a 2-year deal, so not too long for him. If he wanted to hit the market again, he has an option. If he wants to retire after 2 years, he has an option.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be some type of flexibility depending on the guarantees of it, where either party could maybe get away after 1 year. So I'd have to look into it a little bit more. But, yeah, I'm not opposed to it, though. Yeah, I'm not opposed to it at all.
That was one of the teams that no one thought of at all.
Oh, very true.
But that is in that price range that people were speculating about, 14, 15, 16 million. That came out of nowhere.
It did, but if you're excited about Arizona and you think that they have pieces, which I think that they do, right? Obviously drafted Isaiah Simmons last year. Pat P said he wants to come back. Offensively, you got Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, I could definitely see it. And from a weather standpoint, it's very similar to what you're dealing with in Houston, except way less humidity. You're going to still deal with the heat, but you're not going to have the humidity, so that's a plus. He's playing in a dome, very similar to what he played in Houston, so that's still very similar. Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. Yeah. I got to look into it a little bit more, but yeah, I don't hate it. You know what I mean?
Have the neutral team that is the Arizona Cardinals all of a sudden become somewhat of an enemy now? I think I'm rooting against them this year. I think I am.
Oh man. Oh. Well, I'm gonna wait. You know, if JJ balls out,
I think there is just a little bit there where it's just like, bro, come on.
All I'm saying, if JJ ball, I might have to break out my Cardinals 93 jersey.
Dude, man, you have too many connections now. Come on, bro. Steelers, Buffalo, now you're pulling the AZ 93? Shit.
I'm just saying, I got it. But either way, man, that's still a dope move, though, man. So, wow, that's crazy, though. That is crazy.
Breaking news, yeah.
Yeah, in the middle of it, man.
I knew as soon as you said J.J. Watt, he wasn't signing with the Steelers.
Yeah.
Your reaction would have been way different.
Oh. So it was like 2-year cards, like, oh, no, not them. No, what are you doing, JJ? But if we got to pick a team for him to go to, I'd rather have been Cardinals. Because if he went to Cleveland, that was going to feel personal. If he went Tennessee, it still would have felt a little personal. At least with this, is like, you took the most random team in terms of the teams that were showing interest in you and the potential landing spots. That was probably the most random out of all of them. So I don't hate it. I think, like I said, it makes sense for him from a money standpoint, weather standpoint, and potentially scheme standpoint. So I can understand it.
Cool. Is that all we got?
I like it. It is, man. So shoot. Hope everybody enjoyed this mock draft number 1.
That was fun.
By Moats and Deke, baby. So if you like it, hit the like button. Also, let us know, man, what you think about the picks, man. Who would you have taken? Who wouldn't you have taken? Put that in the comment section as well. Shout out to everybody that's been following us on this journey, and until next time.
Peace.